welcome back to another session of CaN, Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. So today we will be looking into the current affairs of 3 days, especially from the Hindu of 12th, 13th and 14th of October. So I have with me about 11 topics today. First we will be dealing about Israel-Hamas, the issues, and Operation Ajay, which was actually initiated by the Indian government to bring back Indians or refugees from Israel to back to India. Then we have the West Asia conflict will not affect IMC, that is the India Middle East Economic Corridor that was initiated in G20. So we will be looking all these 3 topics regarding the West Asia, also that of Israel and Hamas. We will look all the 3 topics together. Then we have UNSC reforms. It's an article written by Shashi Tharoor. So we will be looking into what are the problems with the UN Security Council and what are the changes that it needs. Then women's quota. So we have dealt about the women's quota or women reservation bill. In this article we will be primarily dealing with the delimitation commission. Then fact check unit that has been started by the government. Global hunger index. It is a very sad reality of what the global hunger index has shown us. So we will be dealing with the global hunger index. Then we have the caste based census which took place in Bihar, and we can see that in the future we might have a full India caste based census. Then the semiconductor chips, how government intervention along with the public-private partnership should also take place for the boost of the semiconductor industry in India. Then we have the Saraswati Samman and also the index of industrial production. So let's first move on to the Israel-Hamas issues. So there are 2-3 articles regarding this, so we will be dealing with everything now. So the reason what happened is that Israel has actually told the Palestine people to move away from the northern Gaza Strip and then migrate to the southern Gaza Strip. So a lot of problems are there along with that issue. So if you are looking here, this is the map of Israel. This is a map of Israel. You can see this is Israel, you can see this particular area. This is the Gaza Strip and this is the West Bank region. Now what is actually happening is that Israel is actually moving on an all-in out. Like they are not just targeting the Hamas, they are also targeting the Palestine, and they are actually creating conflicts or resolutions conflict with the neighboring countries as well. So you can see this is the Golan Heights area. Now this is a disputed area between Israel and that of Syria. And now this is another disputed territory between Israel and Lebanon. So the thing is that Israel is moving, like this is the first kind of terrorist attack that Israel has actually had. In India, if you are looking, we had a lot of terrorist attacks, but this is the first kind of terrorist attack that is actually committed by a terrorist organization, Hamas. So they are actually moving in all strike. Not just so, you can see all the international border area of Israel is actually under threat. So you can see the West Bank area. Then you can see the Golan areas as well as the Israel and Lebanon area, where all these surrounding areas are also in attack. We can see in Egypt, we talked about the Yom Kippur war last class, where we told about that in Egypt and Syria also had some kind of issues with Israel, and they actually went to war in 1973 called the Yom Kippur war. Now this kind of surprise attack from Hamas is actually compared to that Yom Kippur war, stating that the Yom Kippur war also was a surprise attack on Israel that was launched by Egypt and Syria. So there is a lot of comparison regarding that too. So literally only this border is currently free right now. All the other areas is coming under attack now. So that is a geographical concern, or geographical areas where the Gaza Strip comes in and where the West Bank comes in, the Golan Heights, and you should also know the countries that are surrounding Israel. So remember Egypt, then we have Jordan, Syria and Lebanon are the 4 countries which are actually surrounding Israel. You might get a prelims question regarding this, the surrounding countries of Israel as such. So all in all, Israel is going out, and Israel has actually given out a recent order that all the people who are actually in the southern tip or the northern tip of Gaza should actually migrate down to the southern tip of Gaza. So the United Nations has stated that this is actually going to create a lot of refugee and issues, because almost 1.1 million people in this Gaza areas will be actually affected, and all these people have to actually migrate in or south, means that in a 40-kilometer span of area, a lot of people are going to be congested in a particular area. And also Hamas has actually said that this kind of psychology war that is actually constructed done by Israel, and no people should actually move out. But the reality is that a lot of people are actually moving out of Gaza. So that is what you have to actually know about this issue. Now there is another article called the balancing power. Balancing power. So in this we will be having a comparison between India and Israel. India and Israel. As I've told you, India has been actually dealing with terrorism for a lot of time. Since the independence of India, since 1948, 1947, we are actually having a lot of war with Pakistan. There's a lot of terrorist infusion and surgical strike that has actually taken place between India and Pakistan. But the thing is that India is a very responsible state. Now you might be confused about what is a responsible state is. If you are considering Pakistan, let us take Pakistan as the example. All their life, all this since the independence of Pakistan, they have been obsessing with India. Some of the particular territories like Kashmir and such, they have been obsessed over this. All their political and economic condition has been actually revolving around how to defeat India or how to become greater than India. So their entire focus has been actually into the particular Indian stance, because of which their economy is weak now. They have taken a lot of debt from China. So because of which all in all they have created a lot of terrorist organization, and now these terrorist organizations are actually reacting against the Pakistan government itself. But now compare India. Did India actually go or obsess with Pakistan? No, it not. We had surgical strikes, we had terrorist strikes and such, we have countered that. But at the same time, India has also focused on our own development. If it's in the economic field, in the political field, even if we are going to a space or such, even with the launch of Chandrayaan-3, India has been actually focused on our self as such, because of which India is a responsible state compared to that of Pakistan. So Israel should also take a similar kind of stance here. The thing is that the Palestinian people are not responsible for this attack. Hamas is the person or the organization that actually initiated this attack. So the Israel's anger or Israel's aggression should come out against Hamas. Targeting Hamas infrastructure and territory because they are a terrorist organization is an ideal cause. You have to target Hamas. But the thing is that you should not target the innocent Palestine people there. They are not responsible for the issues that are happening right there. India all in all has actually focused on this terrorist groups alone. Because we know Pakistan citizens are not responsible for any kind of these kind of attacks. We should have some more responsibility and taking out, so that the thing is that they have to focus, Israel has to focus upon the Hamas only and not the Palestinians entirely, because they are not the initiator of these kind of war. So that is what has been actually portrayed in this balancing policy article that has been actually written by the author. As an Indians, we should actually pressure the Israel to take a right course of action, because they are not they should act more responsibility and should not behave like an insurgent group. So that is what the article has been actually trying to say. The thing is that India currently supports both Israel and Palestine because we wanted neutrality to be achieved between both the groups. The thing is that even when in 2017, when there was Israel and American relationships has been growing a lot, and they have actually in 2017 tried to take East Jerusalem and make it as the Israeli capital. But India has stood against it because we feel that India and Israel and Palestine should be actually given the equal grounds for it, because the Palestine was actually not consulted in this regard at all. So we can see that how India has been actually reacting to this. Another one of the concerns India have is that we have a lot of Indian population there. Close to 18,000 people study and work there, and also we have close to 85,000 of people who are actually like Israel of Indian origin. So the thing is that we have a lot of concern here, and as I have told you, Operation Ajay is to bring the Indians in Israel back to India. About 212 Indians were actually brought back to India in the first round. Similarly, we know about Operation Ganga, which was to actually evacuate Indians from Ukraine. So a lot of operations like Ganga, like Sukoon, like Ajay and such has been actually conducted by the Indian government to rescue the Indians from this war-torn areas and such. Regarding our next article, West Asia conflict, as I have told you, this IMC was actually given out by G20 summit. It's to actually connect India with the West Asia and then with the port parishes of the Greece. So if you are looking, how is this IMC going to be affected by this Israeli war? We can see India from Mumbai here, this actually starts. Then we are actually connecting via the sea route, and we will be reaching UAE, Saudi Arabia. Till here everything is okay, but our Haifa port, that is in Israel, is actually will be come under attack, because will be actually under threat because of this ongoing Israel-Hamas war right here. The thing is that this particular Haifa port is actually pretty much important for India. We have routes via the Suez Canal, we have the other routes as well, but to develop a route like through Haifa, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to that of Europe is actually pretty much very important for India. Even if the finance minister says that the IMEC will go as planned, the thing is that if the Haifa port will be actually come under attack, or Haifa port will be actually like, because that is a very unstable area right now. So we are also in question how this IMEC, that is the India Middle East Economic Corridor, will work out in the future. So that is what actually stated in this article. Next we will be moving on to UNSC, UN Security Council reforms. Why is it needed? This is an article by Shashi Tharoor. He has actually served as a member of this UNSC before. So we will be looking, as I have told you, as you know, there are 5 members who are currently the permanent members of UNSC. You know that is the China, France, Russia, UK and USA. Then there is actually 10 non-permanent members. The first will be like the non-permanent members, they will appoint for a term of 2 years. And there are some regional conditions, qualifications they have to come to. The first is that from Africa, 3 non-permanent members will be chosen. From Asia to Latin America to Western Europe and others to and Eastern Europe one. So this is the clarifications by which the other 10 non-permanent members will be actually chosen from. But the thing is that there are currently about 193 countries and just only 15 members representing this 193 countries, because of which there is under representation. If you are looking at 1945, the Security Council had about 11 members. There was initially only 51 members, out of which 11 were permanent and non-permanent members. Now because of it, there was about initially 22% representation initially in UN Security Council. But then 1965, this was again changed to make 15 members. But presently, as I have told you, there are only 15 members representing 193. It only represents about 8%. That is pretty much very less, because of which like there is no expansion happening within the UN Security Council and there is a lot of under-representation happening also. So we will look at why there should be need a UNSC reform. The first thing is that the UN represents the realities of 1945. So if you are looking at the UN chart list, Germany and Japan is actually portrayed as an enemy countries. But the ground reality is that Germany and Japan are actually giving a lot of financial funds to that of United Nations. They doesn't take into account the financial contribution. Germany and Japan, they are some of the highest financially countries which actually give finance to the UN Security Council. But still in the charter, Germany and Japan like states are actually said as enemy countries. And also this UNSC is not based upon the financial contribution made by members. Especially they don't take into account countries like India as such, and they doesn't represent the population. If you take Europe, they have like UK and such, they have the representation. UK and France have the representation. Europe only there is actually 5% of population. The thing is that there is a lot of populous countries out there. There is India, there is Brazil and such, because these people are not represented correctly. Or the contributions made by these countries are actually not heard out as such, because of which there is an urgent need for reforms within the UN Security Council. The reforms that are advocated. There is a G4 Council that is going to. We have India, Brazil, Germany and Japan. These are the G4 countries which actually wants a representation in the UN Security Council. These 4 countries have been demanding time and again for the expansion of the permanent council as well as that of the non-permanent council. They actually asked about a 15 to 25 increase in the council members. Like it presently is 15 and they want to expand it up to about 25. So that there will be some more equal representations happening. So they are telling that about 6 countries should be actually included in the permanent council and expanded to about 25. That is has been actually said by the G4 Council. But the reality is that they have been requesting for these reforms for a long time. But the UNSC members, the 5 members, you know, as the United Nations, UNSC is the highest like decision body in the whole world. So these 5 members who has the veto, or the permanent members, they are not ready to give up their seats or to share their powers. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, against the G4 club, there is actually a coffee club. Against this G4. Now India's position is actually, India's entry into permanent council is actually said no by Pakistan and China. Now that of Brazil is said no by Argentina. Then Germany is said by Italy and Spain. Of Japan is said no by South Korea, China and Australia. So all these countries are against the entry of these 4 countries into the UNSC. So against the G4 there is actually Coffee Club. So India's entry is actually said no by Pakistan and China. Similarly Brazil, Argentina, then Germany, Italy and Spain, then Japan, there is South Korea, China and Australia. So there are a lot of countries who are still opposing the reforms in UN Security Council, because of which we are not able to bring any kind of reform within the UNSC. Another bigger problem is that 2/3 of the people, close to about 129 people should approve this, and 2/3 of the countries should also ratify this. Ratify, it means that the country's parliament should actually ratify this law. Now because of which this bringing reforms in the UNSC is actually a pretty much hectic task. But there is an urgent need for UNSC because there is underrepresentation of population, there is a lot of veto powers, and the thing is that the UNSC is not efficiently dealing with any kind of issues. Because of all these veto powers, there is biasness shown by many of these countries. So we need an urgent kind of reform. That is what Shashi Tharoor has said in this article about. So this is what I have told you about. Your 2/3 in the Coffee Club, there is about odd 40 members which are actually holding back any kind of UN reforms. Then women's quota, rhetorical and reality. We have talked about the women's reservation bill. It will be lasting for about 15 years, and the women reservation will not happen in this 2024 election. It will happen only after the delimitation, and this delimitation will be coming only in 2026, and then in the 2029 general election only this reservation of women will actually come into place. So in this article we should know what are the problems, like the delimitation as such, that is very important. So as per the Election Commission, they define delimitation as the process of drawing boundaries of constituencies for electoral bodies based upon the population of the recent census. Based upon the census, the delimitation commission will be actually created, and they will then redraw the boundaries so that all the constituencies will have equal number of members. The present problem is that one constituency will have 1 lakh, then the other constituency will have about 1 crore population, because of which there is no equality within all these constituencies. So the delimitation commission will redraw all the map, making all the constituencies equal. Then Article 81 states that the ratio between the number of seats and the population of same should be actually same for all of the states. There should be an ideal kind of ratio between the number of seats and the population so that it becomes equal for all the states. Then Article 82, after every census, the allocation of the Lok Sabha seats of each state must be adjusted based upon the population change, because when there is an increase in population, the number of Lok Sabha seats has be also changes. So after the census, after the delimitation commission, the number of seats in Lok Sabha also has to be adjusted. So because of which under this provisions, an independent delimitation commission will be actually appointed by the president. And the delimitation commission consists upon a retired Supreme Court or High Court judge. Then there is a Chief Election Commission as well as the State Election Commission. These are the 3 members that are actually present in this delimitation commission, and the delimitation commission is called by the president. So you can see here, since like history if you are taking, there was only 4 delimitation commissions happening. There was in 1952, 63, 73, and the last delimitation commission actually came in 2002. In 1976, by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, this delimitation commission, the seats in the Lok Sabha was actually freeze for another 25 years. So it stated that the next delimitation commission will only complete after the 2001 census. So after the 2001 census, the delimitation commission actually came in the 2002, and after the delimitation came and the constituencies was adjusted, again this act was amendment and stated for another 25 years the delimitation won't come, and the seat was actually frozen for next 25 years in the case of Lok Sabha. So then after that, the next delimitation commission is due to come in 2026 only. So after 1973, by the 1976 Constitutional Amendment Act, the delimitation commission, the Lok Sabha seats was actually froze for 25 years till 2001. So after 2001 census, the delimitation commission came again in 2002, and then for the next 25 years again till 2026, the Lok Sabha seat was actually frozen. So that was a CaN history. So as I have told you, it is appointed by the president and consists of the retired judges of Supreme Court or High Court. Then there is Chief Election Commission as well as the State Election Commission. The thing is that they carry out this delimitation with the help of the State Election Commission, and then they actually give out a draft of this for the public opinion. And when the public opinion comes out, the final draft will be actually given out by the commission. Now when this is actually given out, it cannot be actually edited by the Lok Sabha or the state legislative assemblies, and also this is final, because of which no court of law can actually raise any questions against this particular delimitation commission report. Once published, the government commission orders are final as per the Delimitation Act of 1952 and Article 329A of the Constitution. They have full force of law and shall not be called into question in any court of law. So that has been actually stated what is the Delimitation Commission as such. The issues is that they are actually expected to be a continuous issue, because of which they are actually not called often, and because of which all the constituencies have to be changed, and because of which they will be a continuous issue. They can actually foster a north-south divide. The thing is that when the Delimitation Commission comes presently, because there is a lot of population within North India, and the population, like the total fertility rate within the South India is pretty much less. So when the Delimitation Commission comes and all the seats are rearranged accordingly, the population or the representation of the North India will be much more than that of the South India, and it can actually create a north-south divide. And it also reservation, like the thing is that we can actually give reservations as per the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. For the panchayats and municipal bodies, the reservation for women was actually based upon, it was not actually based upon any delimitation commission. It was actually based upon the population there. So we could actually have done something like that and not just wait for the delimitation commission to come in 2026 and to actually bring this into force after the next 5 to 6 years. That is what the author has been actually saying in this article. So you would know what is delimitation commission, what are the issues they have dealing with, and what are the way forward or what they can actually have taken place. Now moving on, we have the fact check unit. Now this fact check unit is actually created by the Ministry of Electronics and IT. The main thing is that they actually amended the IT rules of 2021. The thing is that there is a lot of fake news is happening, there is a lot of misleading conduct, and the government, what they want is to actually take down all these false news or misleading content that is actually related to the government. So what they did, they actually introduced this fact check unit. Now the thing is that it actually requires intermediate to exercise due diligence once this fact check unit comes to place, and if they have actually caught any misleading conduct within the platform owners will not be actually given any safe harbor protection. The thing is that the user like me will be using your platform like Facebook and such, and if I find any kind of misleading information within that platform, you won't get any kind of safe harbor protection anymore, and you will be actually coming under the law, under the government as per the fact check unit. Now a person called Kunal went and filed a petition in the Supreme Court against this. As per the amendment, the thing is that they can actually deals with the intermediaries if put them under obligation to ensure that the users do not publish fake data. So that is what the amendment has been made in the IT rules, and this Kunal Kamra has actually, he was the editor of Guild of Indian and Association Indian magazine. He filed a writ petition against this fact checking unit, and what you have to see what the Bombay High Court has actually stated that the amendment lacks safeguard. The Bombay High Court states that they are not actually stating anything because there is a lot of problem with this amendment as such. So the Bombay High Court actually asked, what is this misleading content? Is there anything, a particular definition for this misleading content? The thing is that even a fair criticism against the government can be actually pinpointed by the government as a misleading message by the part of the user, and they can be actually brought under this fact checking unit. Now there is already PIB present, then why is there a need for the fact checking unit? So there is a lot of confusion as per that of the Bombay High Court as such, and they have said that this is not a fair criticism because this is actually bounding the freedom of speech and expression by that of the people. Anything fair criticism against the government will be actually targeted by the government as misleading. So this is actually not fair from the part of the government. That is actually stated by the Bombay High Court. So that is what the fact check unit is. It's under MeitY as such. Now we have the Global Hunger Index. So as I have told you, presently our Global Hunger Index is 111. We are at the 1st position out of 125 countries in the year 2023. Last year in 2022, we were at the position of 107 out of 121 countries. So, the thing is that India is actually below its neighbors. If we are looking Pakistan, we are looking Bangladesh, we are actually below all these countries. All these countries have good ranks and higher ranks than of India. So there is a lot of concern regarding this global hunger index, because we have a lot of schemes like regarding the nutrition, the food, the national food security scheme, we have the public distribution system and such. After all this, still our hunger index is pretty much lower compared to our neighbors like Pakistan, Sri Lanka as such. Now, this global hunger index consists of 4 indicators. One is undernourishment, child stunting, child wasting and child mortality. Child stunting is that the child does not have a particular height according to his age. Child wasting is that the child does not have the weight required for his age and height, and also the child mortality is the number of deaths in the child for infants less than 5 years of age. So, this global hunger index is given in a score of 100. 0 means that there is no hunger. If there is high means that 100 means that this is actually severe hunger. This is 0 means no hunger, 100 means severe hunger, and our score is actually pretty much very less. So, this is actually given out by a European NGO called the Concerned Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life. Now, it is very important that you actually know the parties or the NGOs or the institution that is actually bringing out such kind of index as well as reports. So, it is important that the global hunger index has been in news and it is actually very concerning press for India. So, it is important that you actually know the organization which actually gave out this hunger index, that is the Concerned Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life. It is an annual report, and this particular report actually takes the data of the last 5 years. They actually use the data of last 5 years. So, as per this, the child wasting is actually given out as, they actually gave out the child wasting. Child wasting as about 18.7%. The undernourishment as about 16.6%. Then child mortality as 3.1%. Also anemia among women as 58.1%. Now, all these are very high numbers. Now, a child wasting is close to about 18.7%. But the reality that these kind of data that has actually been given out by the Global Hunger Index is actually not supported by that of the Indian government. Even last year in 2022, as I have told you, our rank was 107 out of 121 countries. The Indian government was not happy and they actually started their own tracker called this Portion Tracker. So, this Portion Tracker, it updates monthly about the hunger or the condition of children, and it is actually in lines with that of the WHO's standard and regulations. So, this Portion Tracker is much more reliable than this Global Hunger Index, and it shows a month update, not rather than this Global Hunger Index shows data of the last 5 years and not a month to month update. But this Portion Tracker is actually month to month update, because of which is more reliable. And as per this Portion Tracker, this child wasting is below 7.2%. Is below 7.2%, but the Global Hunger Index shows that the child wasting in India is close to about 18.7%. Now, because we can actually see there is a lot of concerns that has been actually given out by the government here, and the government also stated that the methodology that is actually used by the global to target the Global Hunger Index is not good. 3 out of 4 indicators here actually deals with that of children, and the 4th indicator mainly, child mortality, cannot be actually given out by because of hunger alone. The indicators like stunting and wasting, there are a lot of other issues because of genetics, because of the environment. So, this stunting and wasting and mortality is actually beyond that of hunger as such. The child wasting or mortality does not just happen because of hunger. It might be of environment, might be of genetics. So, many things can actually happen like that. And also the sample taken by is just 3,000 people, and it is actually opinion based. The sample taken is actually 3,000 children or 3,000 population. These 3,000 children does not represent the entire population in India, and also this is actually opinion poll that is actually taken from about 3,000 children or people. So that is the reality that has been actually given out by the Indian government. This whatever data that has been actually published by the Global Hunger Index does not represent the global reality of that of India. This portion tracker is much more reliable in India, and it's actually started by the Ministry of Women and Child Development in accordance with the WHO's guidelines and such. So because of which portion tracker is much more reliable than the Global Hunger Index. So as you can see here, as I have told you, our child wasting rate is 18.7% as given by the Global Hunger Index. Then undernourishment has stood at 16.6%, child mortality at 3.1%, anemia about 58.1%. India is ranked below than our neighbours. Pakistan even has 102nd rank. Bangladesh 81, Nepal 69, and Sri Lanka, even with all this crisis going on, they are still at the 16th rank. They have fared better than India in all the indexes. The Indian government consensus as told that the methodology that they have been using is actually not correct. The portion tracker actually gives us the sample size is only 3000. It does not represent the entire population of India, and the ministry added that our portion tracker showed us a wasting of only below 7.2%, but as per the Global Hunger Index it's 18.7%. Then as I have told you, the two other indicators, shunting and as well as the wasting can happen because of other reasons like genetics, environment and such, and also that the fourth indicator, child mortality, does not happen just because of hunger alone. Portion tracker is actually given out by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, and this is actually developed by, it's an important governance tool. This is incorporated, it has incorporated WHO's expanded tables, and they provide day-to-day base score as well. So this is the important key takeaways from the article. Moving on, we have the case of caste census. So as I have told you, this caste census was actually first introduced by the British government. The first caste census happened in 1881 and the last census by 1931. Since 1881, after every 10 years, they have been actually conducting this caste census along with the population census as such. But after independence, our Indian government did not do any kind of this caste census, and they have abandoned this practice altogether, stating that this caste will actually degrade the equality of the Indians. So because of which this caste census has not been taken away. But still, since independence, we have been depending upon the 1931 caste census as such. Even when we had to actually give OBC reservations about 27%. The BP Mandal Commission, they also refer to this 1931 census as such. Now the commission had extrapolated data from the 1931 census. So there is actually high importance of why there is a need we should actually give out a caste census, because we have been actually depending upon a caste census that is close to a century old. The thing is that the condition has changed, the caste census have changed, the caste, the subcaste, everything has actually changed right now. So it's actually pretty much very important that this caste census be carried out. So we will be seeing arguments for and arguments against this caste census. So if you can see here, there is actually various government schemes regarding like targeting up of particular caste as such. So if they are actually targeting particular caste, there is a lot of schemes that has been actually given out by the central government. There might be actually targeting some particular caste groups or particular groups like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. If we don't know the correct numbers, how will we know these schemes are beneficial in the ground level or not? They don't have the correct data or the reliable data, and they actually give out some scheme without knowing the correct exact number of population who they have to actually accumulate or not accumulate. So because of which caste census becomes very much important there. Fair representation of the marginalized section, because there is a lot of section being marginalized because of the caste census. If we don't have the correct numbers, this section of people will be marginalized again. Minimize the misuse of caste certificates so that they get the deserving gets the benefit. So there is actually a need for this caste census to actually come out. So if you are looking the rural, urban and as well as the per capita, monthly per capita expenditure is for the rural area, SC actually contributes 73%, ST they use actually 65%, their monthly per capita expenditure is close to 65%, OBC 85% compared to that of the general category. In the monthly per capita expenditure of urban 68% for SC compared to that of the general 63%, 70%. Also the poverty ratio has is here as well. So because of which we need to know correct data so that these particular category of people will actually get the benefit out of it. Now, arguments against, the thing is that perpetual division of society in the last of caste. There is still precedence of caste in this caste now. So if you are actually again conducting a caste census, there will be actually division between in this society. Caste identity becomes predominant. Already in the North India, caste is predominant because we can even see the caste names linked to that of the person names. Already caste is predominant, and if you are actually conducting a census again, it will actually aid the predominance of the caste. Give rise to resentment amongst the non-beneficiary section. That is also another issue. Lack of substantial benefit even after decades of affirming action. The thing is that a lot of people, a lot of caste groups are still not actually getting any kind of required benefit. There was actually, in the last month we had Rohini Commission to learn about the subcaste groups, like only a particular caste groups are actually gaining any kind of benefits of this government, even if it's reservation, job or schemes, only particular groups are getting. The other kind of caste groups are still not actually getting any kind of benefits. So because of it, this caste census becomes very more important. Then vote bank politics is also another issue. Demand for greater quota and reservation. If one group gets reservation, the other group will also demand for reservation. This happens every time. So there will be more demand for reservation. So there is a for and against for a caste census. If you ever get a question, you have to write for and against this argument as well. So you can actually remember both these slides. Moving on, we have the semiconductor chips. As I have told you, government should actually bring in initiative with the PPP, public-private partnership. So 6 working groups was actually created by the government, and they have actually published their first report stating that the government needs to intervene with the public PPP, public-private partnership, or they have to actually inculcate PPP model so that we can actually see some kind of developments in the semiconductor industry, especially for AI application. The PPP model will be leveraged by building so-called GPU clusters. Now these are actually masses of resource intensive graphic process that actually uses AI application. Now they can be actually made available, these kind of particular GPU clusters and application can be actually made use and can be made available to the Indian AI startup, because of which there will be actually development within the semiconductor industry. Presently the AI, semiconductor in AI, we focus on particular sectors like agriculture, healthcare, education, fintech, security and governance and such. So that is what has been actually told in this article. There is also a policy of draft national strategy on robotics, so that we need to actually bring in more competition as well as cost effectiveness. So because of which there is a need for increased government intervention into the sector along with this PPP model. Robotics in the future. While robotics is a multidisciplinary technology that has a potential to transform and disrupt the wide range of sectors and industries, its adaptation today has been primarily driven by economic motivation alone. Because of which just not economic motivation is actually required, we need the government intervention. So that this robotics is the future. So because of it, there is a needed intervention, and the draft strategy recommend a physical intervention, not physical intervention to facilitate the local manufacturing, so that we can actually attain, we might get more revenue out of the sector as such. Moving on, we have the Saraswati Samman. This award was actually given to Shiva Shankari. This is not an award given by the government. We will be looking into that. The person Shiva Shankari actually had got the Saraswati Samman award. It is an annual award that has been actually bestowed upon Indian citizen for outstanding literary work that has been actually done in any language. Out of our Schedule 8, we have close to about 22 languages. Out of any languages, if you have done an exemplary work in any literary works, this Saraswati Samman award will be actually given out. It will be actually for any publication that is given out in the last 10 years. It also has a cash prize about 1.15 lakhs and also a plaque of Goddess Saraswati. It was established in 1991 by K.K. Birla Foundation. So that is something which you need to know. But Saraswati Samman is not given out by the government. It is given by K.K. Birla, and for the outstanding literary work written in any languages that is actually present in the Schedule 8 of the Constitution. Moving on to our last topic, we have the index of industrial production. It is actually given by the NSO, National Statistical Office, under the Ministry of Statistics and Implementation. So that is the gives out the growth and rates of measurements of different companies, under which there is actually 8 core industries that comes under this IIP. We have electricity, steel, refinery products, crude oil, coal, cement, natural gas and fertilizer. You have to remember this 8 core industries because they actually contribute about 27% as such. So the industrial growth actually was high. Like in the last month census, the IIP was pretty much very less, and this month we actually saw growth in the IIP sector. So we need to know what is IIP and what are the 8 core industries that is actually coming under this IIP. You don't need to learn any kind of this kind of data or such, you just need to know a graph on it, how it has been actually increasing and decreasing. So that is it for today. We completed about 11 important articles or topics from the 3 days of newspaper. Thank you and have a nice day. We will be seeing again on Monday with the articles of Sunday and Monday. Thank you and have a nice day.